You're pretty talented at it. You make it look easy.
I don't know about that.
You had to
I
be
make it
fooled.
look good. A lot of that's the truck, though.
That does, having your truck set up and even just everything you do, even for loading or, having like for me, having your straps dry. And it's like, I do all that stuff ahead of time. So when it's time to come out there, it makes it look like you know what you're doing. But it was like, I was just prepared. I wasn't I was being proactive, not reactive kind of a thing. So that's another thing a guy's got to be. You don't want to get up there and get into a mess, and then you're trying to work your way out of a mess kind of thing. So that makes sense.
That's like what you were saying, though, with your chains. So you have your chains set up so you are ready to go. If you spin out, you grab your chains and you just throw them on. That way they're not in a big clump, or in a bin or something like that where you're having, okay, which side goes where, you're not messing around.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like me. It's like I have the same chains I had last winter, but I come to first part of September and I pull everything off and I make sure everything fits in the shop before it starts snowing, and I don't. That's just part of being prepared. Or you can, even though I put my chains away, I'm pretty particular how I put that stuff away, but they can get all knotted up just sitting there bouncing around all summer.
Yep.
So it's kind of just thinking ahead and being.
Well, they can get ice on them too from going up north, and then when you do need them, they're all just full of ice. So that's something to consider too. This time of year, transition time, you know, or if it's raining in the middle of January, like we've seen last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes to making good decisions too. You spin out on a hill and you're sitting there trying to fight your chains off and they're covered in ice and you can't get them on. It's like, okay, well, I should have stopped at the bottom and put them on.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're really putting yourself in a situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of making me think what we were talking about with Casey and Dave Evans or no, that was maybe Jack talking about that, but just people trying to keep up with him they didn't have the experience or that caliber to keep up, and I think that's the whole chaining up thing. People are just seeing, well, that guy made it. It's like, well, he's got 10,000 pounds on and you got a 5-axle. It's like there's a difference. Just because a truck made it, you got to think of, there's so many factors that go into that.
Right.
And it's like me, I'm changing my shocks and all that stuff all the time. I want good shocks so it maintains good pressure going up the hills, and you got good tires. And
that's something guys don't think about with those shocks when you go into the washboards at the top of 5 Mile. That could spin you out if you got bad shocks.
Sure.
It's a whole combination. Good shocks, good tires, good driving, like Benny says,
Yeah, if you're balanced, if your tires, if you can't make good contact with the road, you're going to start spinning.
Right.
And I guess that's something else we were thinking about too, with especially after when they're blading in the summertime. They'll blade some of these hills, and it'd be neat to get your take on that. But some of these trucks are still just flat out going up there. And it's like, man, pack this stuff in, and then we'll have a road that's going to last. But
and maybe they're not locked in either. I was talking to Chuck Jones about this. If you lock everything in going up the hills, you're not going to create as much washboard. And like Aaron said, you back out of it a little bit.
Right.
When you're empty, you don't need 600 horse to the ground going up some of these hills in the summertime.
Yep.
I
think it makes a big difference. That material's loose and everything. It moves real easy. Lonnie and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago. Like, start cheating over to the downhill side if you're loaded. Help tighten that stuff in. I've done that on Beaver Slide. It's drifting in or whatever. There's nobody coming. I'll hop on that southbound side just to keep the road open a little better. I think there's a benefit to that. And same thing in the summertime. 115,000 pounds on that versus a 40,000 pound empty truck. Downhill versus uphill too. Yeah, let's work with the state and pack this road in. We're going to have a good road. That's something else you can do too with when it starts snowing. If it's in the middle of the night and there's 3 or 4 inches of snow, it's like I'll run down the northbound lane coming home just to blow that snow off so somebody else isn't fighting that, trying to come up the hill, or trying to blow the snow off the high sides of the corner so guys can, because that sucks when you're trying to get to the high side of the corner but nobody's been out there, so now you're trying to push through all this snow. But you can help everybody else out. It's like it's all part of working together as a team. Yep, for sure. One of the things that I think a lot of guys probably don't consider, and I know it's something when I first started up there, is split your tracks.